iron within the walls. They called it Block E, a place where rules bent, broke, and eventually bled. No prison guard stayed longer than 6 months in Block E. Not because of riots, not because of escapes, but because of what happened when the lights went out. Inmates whispered of screams at night, sudden disappearances, and punishments that didn't come from the warden. There were no cameras, no witnesses, just pain, silence, and the scent of blood that never left the yard's concrete. And in the middle of this brutal world, there were two kinds of men. The oppressors, gang leaders, corrupt guards, and monsters hiding behind cells. And the oppressed, the silent majority, beaten into obedience or buried in the yard. Then came a new prisoner. Tall, quiet, scar on his face. Name, Dax Monroe. He didn't speak much, but he watched everything. Dax arrived during a break, a brief ceasefire between warring prison gangs. The guards didn't ask where he came from. Paperwork was rushed. No one questioned anything. That was their first mistake. From his first day, Dax didn't behave like an average prisoner. He didn't flinch during shakedowns. He never accepted protection. He studied everyone, from the sadistic guard Macklin, who ran an underground punishment ring, to Cobra Ruiz, the gang leader who controlled food, medicine, and survival. Dax watched it all unfold. A young inmate thrown into the laundry furnace for refusing to smuggle drugs. A guard framing an innocent man for a murder that never happened. An old man who hadn't been outside in 2 years. Because Cobra said so. But Dax didn't interfere. Not yet. He earned his way into silence. And once he was ignored, he started digging. Using hidden wires sewn into his uniform, Dax recorded every exchange, every whispered bribe, every beatdown ordered by the guards. He gained the trust of Cobra by defending him in a staged yard brawl. He earned Macklin's confidence by selling out a fake snitch. But Dax wasn't a criminal. He was an inspector, sent in undercover by internal corrections after 5 prisoners had committed suicide within 3 months. What Dax didn't expect was how deep the rot ran. The guards weren't just looking the other way. They were participating. Warden Hallbridge had turned Block E into a hidden empire. Black market trading, forced labor, silent assassinations, even selling prisoners off the record. When Dax got too close, someone slipped a razor under his pillow with a warning, "Back off, or you're the next ghost." But Dax had already sent out his first report. Dax's cover was blown. The gangs realized who he was. So did the guards. The yard gates were sealed. He was supposed to die that night. But something happened no one predicted. The oppressed rose. The mute inmate who was beaten daily. He led the first charge. The quiet cook? He locked Cobra's men in the pantry. And the old man who hadn't seen sunlight in 2 years? He pulled out keys he'd stolen from a careless guard years ago and opened every cell. A full-blown prison revolt exploded. But not for power, for truth. When federal reinforcements arrived 2 hours later, they found Dax bruised but alive, standing over Cobra's unconscious body, audio recordings in one hand, a torn prison badge in the other. Conclusion: resolution and punishment. The media called it the Block E Reformation. 22 guards were arrested. The warden was sentenced to life. Cobra and his enforcers were scattered into maximum security solitary for the rest of their days. Block E was shut down, rebuilt, and renamed. Dax Monroe returned to his post. But something in him had changed. He had gone into the system to watch. He came out knowing he had to fix it. In a televised hearing, he said only one thing. "We focus so much on keeping the bad guys in that we forgot we let worse ones run free inside. I saw men scream for help and die in the dark, not because of justice but because of silence. Not anymore."